not that savvy with Facebook Live. I'm using a new platform on my Mac. And unfortunately, I ended the video prematurely. So we're back. And, I have a second story to share with you. So I'm going to do my song again, and hopefully people will rejoin. So, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine in the stories that I share every day. So I hope the second link is not still running, because that would be disastrous. Any rate, or the first link rather. The second story I have to read is called Abuela's Weave, and the author is Enrique O. Sanchez. Before I read it, I just want to say I was blessed to be the first co-teacher in the state of New Jersey to teach in a two-way dual language program. And I taught in the dual language program in Inglewood for 7 years. And half of my students were native Spanish speakers and half of them were native English speakers. And it was a wonderful program. I had a wonderful relationship with those students, still do with many of them, even though it's virtual now. And so this is a tribute to the Latino students that I've taught and their families, and just to the multicultural heritage of our world that I believe so strongly in. Abuela's Weave. Written by Omar Castaneda and illustrated by Enrique O. Sanchez. Abuela's Weave. Pull back hard, oh Abuela. Make it jolt so the threads stay close like family. Yes, Abuela. Esperanza thrust the bolt through the open weave and pulled the bar down with all her might. Next to her, Esmeranda's grandmother, her abuela, also kneeled in front of a backstrap loom. Both looms were tied to the same tree in the middle of the family compound. Esperanza's mother fed the chickens and pigs behind the main thatch hut, while her father was off with her brothers in the field of corn, beans, and coffee. You're learning, Abuela said. Esmeralda looked at her grandmother out of the corner of her eye. She knew that Abuela was nervous about the market. Her mother had said that the hoopoes and tapestries could pull the wonder right out of people. But these days, more and more goods were made by machines. Esmeralda worried that people would tease Abuela about her birthmark, as some kids had once done. They had started a rumor that she was a witch, and now many people were frightened to buy things from her. Daydreaming again? Abuela asked. Yes, Abuela. Well, the old woman said gruffly, get busy, because there are too few days left. You still have a lot of work to do, and there will be many other people selling the same things you have. Don't worry, Abuela. I'll be busy until we leave. And she was. Esperanza and her grandmother worked from early morning, even before the sun rose, to well past sunset when the moon rose and the compound fire gave everything the rich smell of pine. They showed no one their work, not even Esperanza's mother, because it was a special thing that they wore. They wanted to wait for the Fiesta de Pueblos in Guate to reveal it. Soon the day arrived. Bright with sun, the leaves glistened from the previous night's rain. It seemed like a good omen for Esperanza and her grandmother. Abuela appeared disguised as a woman in mourning. Dressed in black, she wrapped a long black shawl around her shoulders and across her face, so that only her eyes appeared to the world. Esperanza, however, wore her favorite huipil. I may be pronouncing that word wrong. It was a white blouse with red, blue, and green threads in the rectangular collar. Under that, the colors bled into silver and blue, and hidden within the intricate designs of the blouse were tiny questlas flying freely in the threads the way they once flew in the great forests of Guatemala. She carried on her head a large straw bag full of her Abuela's tablecloths, skirts, and the special tapestry. Esmeralda walked steadily down the dirt avenue of Santa Cruz to get to the highway where the Guate bus would pick them up. Abuela walked several paces behind. She insisted that they pretend they did not know each other. That way, if my birthmark frightens customers, they will still buy from you, Abuela explained. When the bus came, Abuela did not even help lift the heavy basket to the boys who strapped bags onto the roof of the bus. Inside, they sat 3 streets apart as if they were strangers. People living in different villages, people with no ancestors in common. When they arrived, the noise in the city was deafening. Large buses roared down the narrow streets, emitting clouds of black fumes. Horns blasted, and people hurried roughly down the sidewalk. Esmeralda wanted more than anything to get off the Sexta Avenida, where people jammed the walkways and hawkers yelled from their shops or from the hundreds of carts blocking the sidewalks and streets. She felt trapped. Her lungs ached from the automobile and bus fumes, and her ears rang with the sounds of screeching brakes, horns, shouting, and the whistles of policemen. Esmeralda walked quickly, the basket steady upon her head, her mind trying to focus away from the commotion and onto the stall set up for the fiesta in the Parque Central. She walked furiously, zigzagging to get down to Avenida Ocho or the Septima Avenida, where the noise was less, when she suddenly stopped to see if Abuela was still following behind. She looked for a familiar face among the bobbing heads, the baskets, the helmets and hats. She wanted to catch just a sight of her grandmother's shawl, like a blackbird hopping from branch to branch in a forest of people, but she could not find her. Esmeralda continued to the market, hoping Abuela would eventually find her there among the other merchants. The stalls were already filled when Esmeralda arrived. Old men and women nearly shooed her away or ignored her when she asked for help. At last, all she could do was set her basket between the narrow slats of 2 stalls. On one side, a family from Antigua sold pottery. Reproductions of Mayan crafts and clothing loomed in one of the many factories. The woman on the other side sold long bolts of cloth, musical instruments, and decorative bags. The bags all had zippers machined in the capital and long handles of colorful plastic. Everything was beautiful, Esperanza thought. She thought that no one would buy anything from her. She and her grandmother would return to Santa Cruz with no money, the long hours wasted, and the family disappointed. Esmeralda sadly took out her wares to hang them one by one on long splinters in the slat wood on either side. She felt terribly alone. Even her poor abuelita was nowhere to be seen. The people slowly noticed. They pointed at the elaborate weaving. Tourists and Guatemalans alike drew closer to her tiny place and looked up at wonder at the beautiful work in front of them. The large tapestry blossomed with images of Guatemala. Esmeralda and Abuela had worked in intricate symbols of the country's history. There were heroines and heroes inspired by the glorious Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya. And in one corner, a beautiful quetzal seemed to watch over it all from within a white cage. In Esmeralda's hands, the tapestry's colors shone as brightly as the sun over Guatemala's Lake Atitlan. People turned from the commercial stalls to stand before Esmeralda's complex weaving. When she looked up, Esmeralda saw Abuela with a smile across her birthmarked face. It didn't take long for all of their work to be sold that day. The people were disappointed when all was gone, but Esmeralda promised to return with new things the following month. And on the way back to Santa Cruz, grandmother and granddaughter sat side by side, Esmeralda's smooth and nimble fingers held tightly in her abuela's wrinkled old hands. And that's the end. And that is, again, Abuela's Weave. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed these two stories. I don't know what happened with the video. I thought I was closing. I don't know. I closed the video by mistake. But I appreciate those who have joined me. William Fortune, you're welcome. I think mothers and grandmothers are so special and important. To Valerie, I'm glad that you joined in again. And to all who are watching, take this time to be kind to yourself, to be kind to your family, to be kind to those in your world and in your sphere. Reach out. You can reach out by phone. You can reach out. Now we can video talk to people. When I grew up, that was a fantasy on the Jetsons. Well, now that's a reality. We can reach out and talk to people. You can use Skype and Zoom and FaceTime and whatever means you have. Reach out and touch, which whatever way you can virtually. But be kind and be loving and read and write and continue to keep that mind developed. Develop your mind. Crossword puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, word scrambles, those type of things. Keep your mind active. I'll see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 5 o'clock on Facebook Live for another story time with Dr. Tinsley. In the meantime, keep washing your hands. Stay in. If you go out, make sure you wear a mask. I again want to say that to the children. Some of the children are afraid to wear masks. It's important. Hold 1 second. I apologize, but I want to demonstrate this because some children, including my granddaughter, are uncomfortable wearing masks. We have to wear masks when we go out. So you take the mask, you put it over your ears, pinch it, and pull it over your chin. It's nothing to be scared of, boys and girls. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's something to keep you safe. You don't touch it. You don't take it off. You wait until you get home, and your family will take it off by the ears, the strap around the ears, and throw it away. But I want to point out this is important. So for those young children, it seems a little scary. I understand it is different. But these types of things are important now because we want everybody to stay healthy. Okay? So you remember that from Dr. Tinsley, all right? In the meantime, be well and God bless. Peace.